Burma, also known as Myanmar, is a predominantly Buddhist nation, home to some of the most friendly and peaceful people on earth. Stunningly beautiful and rich in resources, it should be one of the wealthiest countries in the world. Instead, it's one of the poorest. In 1962, the army threw out the democratically elected government in a military coup and has ruled Burma with an iron fist ever since. It is estimated that up to 60% of Burma's national budget is spent on its military, and the ruling generals embezzle millions on indulgent lives of luxury. The vast majority of Burmese, meanwhile, suffer in poverty, with no schools or healthcare, and barely enough food to survive. Any dissent against the general's avaricious rule is mercilessly crushed, and hundreds of thousands of innocent people have been tortured and murdered by the regime over the years, including monks, teachers, women, and even schoolchildren. In August 1988, mass democracy protests erupted across Burma, and millions of people poured onto the streets to demand the end of the cruel military regime, only to be slaughtered by their own soldiers. The international outcry that followed the massacre forced Burma's generals to hold elections in March of 1989. Aung San Suu Kyi, Burma's most famous daughter, and the Nobel Peace Prize winner, won by a landslide. The generals refused to recognize her victory. She was imprisoned and has been under house arrest almost continuously ever since. The elections in 2010 are the first since 1989. It is widely acknowledged that they have been rigged to do nothing more than legitimize and continue the general's rule.
Both of the main parties in this election are fronts for the military junta that's ruled Myanmar, also known as Burma, since 1962. It's led by General Than Shwe, who made sure that whatever the result at the polls, he'd still be in charge. On his state visit to India, President Obama said the Burmese have been denied the right to choose their destiny.
There are elections that are being held right now in Burma that will be anything but free and fair.
Last time Burma had an election, 20 years ago, the pro-democracy candidate Aung San Suu Kyi won in a landslide. But the generals ignored the result and put her under house arrest. In this, the first election since, opposition politicians are either in jail or muzzled. But millions of Burmese do long for democratic reform. And in 2007, Buddhist monks led crowds of citizens in street protests before they were brutally repressed. The heavy security outside polling stations this weekend shows the generals are determined that nothing like that will ever happen again. Elizabeth Palmer, CBS News.
Myanmar is holding its first general election under its reformist government on November the 8th. The elections are expected to be the freest since the loosening of military rule in the country in 2011. Although 25% of the seats will still be held by the military, 3/4 of the seats are up for grabs. Here's what you need to know about the upcoming vote in Myanmar. What's at stake? It will be a crucial marker in the journey of Myanmar, moving from military rule to civilian rule. The party that wins the most seats in the legislature will have a large say in who becomes Myanmar's new president. Why is this election different? Aung San Suu Kyi, the iconic opposition leader, was under house arrest during the last election in 2010. This time, she was openly campaigning across the country, leading the National League for Democracy. International election monitors are working to ensure that over 90 parties and 6,000 candidates stand a fair chance in these elections. Who's left out? Politicians have pandered to the rise of anti-Muslim sentiment and powerful nationalist Buddhist monks. No major political party has any Muslim candidates. The government has cancelled identity documents of Rohingya Muslims and revoked their right to vote, even though they were allowed to vote in previous elections. Can Aung San Suu Kyi be president? No. Though the NLD is widely expected to pick up more seats in these elections, Ms. Suu Kyi cannot become president because Myanmar's constitution bars anyone with foreign family members from holding the top post. There is no clear frontrunner for the presidency, and after the election, Myanmar is expected to enter a long period of horse trading. Why should the world care? Myanmar's transition to civilian rule is being closely watched by the region and supported by Western governments and the US. The Obama administration considers Myanmar a key foreign policy achievement. The elections, despite their imperfections, will be a test of how far democracy has taken root in the country and could clear the way for more change later.
Democracy icon Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy has won a majority in Myanmar's parliament. Over the past few days, results from the country's first free general election in 25 years have slowly been trickling in, and the NLD's victory has seemed likely. But the latest announcement of seats officially pushes the party over the threshold, allowing them to form a government and choose their own president. On the streets of Yangon, home to NLD headquarters, residents were hopeful.
I'm very satisfied and happy for this victory. We've been waiting for this for so long. I wish to live freely without any more fear or restraints.
Suu Kyi's win sweeps out an old guard of former generals that has run Myanmar since 2011. In Naypyidaw, the capital and their ruling party stronghold, most people accepted the results.
According to the objectives that Aung San Suu Kyi has set, everything is reasonable to be accepted and believed.
With election results confirmed, the focus will shift to NLD's presidential candidate and plans for government. The post-election transition is expected to be lengthy. Although the constitution bars Suu Kyi from securing the presidential seat herself, she has made it increasingly clear she will run the country regardless.